This is Don't Panic, episode number 357, recorded March 13th, 2023. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast that would take a run on the bank if it had any money in the bank. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by a man who's still looking for that hour he lost this weekend. It is Colby Rabadou. Hello, Colby.
You were joking, but oh my God, this time change destroys me.
I don't get it. It's literally like it's 1 hour on a clock. I had a headache. I don't get a lot of like legit headaches. I had a borderline migraine all day yesterday because of an hour.
It doesn't make any sense either. Like, it's like an extra hour of sleep. Like, shouldn't that be good?
I think it's got to be psychological. There's got to be some psychological, like, it's in our head kind of thing, because I just don't believe, and it happens every year, both times, whether you're gaining it or losing it. Just something about it just, like, shakes me to my core.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I get hungry at weird times. I ate, like, 7 times today because I didn't know when to eat. I don't know. I'm, like, tired, but I'm awake.
And then you just keep second-guessing yourself, because what happened is, you know, I would say probably 80% of my clocks automatically changed, but there was the handful that didn't.
Right.
And then that's worse. I would almost rather have to change all of them than do this kind of mixture, because then it's like the one time you look at the one clock you have and you're like, whoa, wait, what time is it?
Right.
Like, damn it.
Yep. Yeah. I only have one manual clock. Nope. I have 2. It's interesting. Somehow none of our kitchen appliances have the time on them, which is great. So the only clock I have to change is the clock on the wall, which is pretty achievable. Though it is up kind of high and sort of annoying to get back on the hook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wall clocks can definitely be a hassle.
Right.
For some reason, my car doesn't... Now, my car is connected to the internet and satellites in outer space, and it will not change the daylight savings for some reason. That was annoying.
Nice.
Because that threw me for a loop today.
Does it, like, if you cross a time zone in your car, does it know that you've changed time?
My current vehicle has never crossed a time zone, so I actually don't know. That's a good question. I would like to know. I'm trying to think if...
Road trip.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever driven over a time zone in a car I've had that was connected to the internet.
Wow.
So that's a smart... You would think it would, but they are nice enough. I'll give them a little bit of credit. They're nice enough to have that box you can check, so you don't have to manually change it. It just says daylight savings time, and you tap it, and it adds the hour. So, like, you got 50% of the way there, couldn't finish, but at least it's just the checkbox. And okay, click.
So close.
Good to go.
I've never owned a car that was connected to the internet my entire life.
It has its advantages, but also, you know, like every gimmick, it's a gimmick. But, you know, it's pretty. It's like, oh, look, you can start the car with your phone. Oh, that's cool, except when they charge you, like, you know, $60 a year for the privilege. Right. Hey, those satellites aren't cheap, man. They got to put those in space.
That's true. Floating around up there, crashing into debris.
Yeah, exactly. One guy had to really get theirs up in orbit.
Yeah. Nice. Well, you know, we're surviving. I'm sure by this time next week I will feel normal again. If I haven't died.
Yeah, it took me... Hey! Look at this. And joining the program, Dan Miller. Hello, Dan.
Hi.
Dan, that's a very new background behind you.
It's extremely new. I do need to adjust it like 1 inch this way. But I haven't had time.
Nice.
Close enough. What's going on, man?
So much happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything
that's
everywhere
it.
all at once.
That's it. Good
We can spend
update,
the
Dan.
entire
Thank you.
show talking about all the shit that's going on with me, so
my God.
I don't know if we should.
Can you give like an AI to summarize it for you or something?
Probably.
SGPT, what's up with Dan?
Yeah. I mean, maybe the most pertinent to recent episodes of the show is to revive the Don't Panic Home Improvement Hour. No one's see. There's all these things that no one tells you. No one told me that houses have teething problems. Have you heard this phrase before? And like everything with houses, it comes back to economics. If you're a person and you're about to sell your house, you want to make as much money as possible. So you will make improvements that make you a lot of money, and then you'll make shitty improvements that will make you a little bit of money. So, like, a stupid example of this is the other day, we lived in this house for 8 or 9 days, I think, at this point. The other day, I went into the garage and I was like, it's weird that in the garage there's holes in the paint where the tires are. And I was like, that's odd. At first I thought it was mud, but then I was like, no, it's only where the tires rest when it's parked in the garage, so it's not mud. And it turns out, like, people don't paint their garage floors. You shouldn't paint your garage floor because the car will just tear the paint off of the floor. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. Why do they do that? Because it looked nice and it doesn't matter. So it's like, okay, now I have a garage that looks shittier because it's just got these giant holes in the floor. And it's going to slowly deteriorate. Not even that slowly. Over the next, 2 years, it's going to deteriorate into nothingness. Like, okay, that's fine. But then,
we talked about this on a recent show. We had electrical work done, so there were a bunch of holes in the walls. So I had to patch and paint the holes in the walls. But while I was at it, like some of the walls were kind of dirty. So instead of washing them, I just painted over the dirty spots. It was great. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it turns out once you own a home, you can do anything you want to it. They can't stop you. That's a dangerous concept.
But I have another point on that. But yeah, so then yesterday? Was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday we wake up and the dishwasher has this funny looking time on it, and it's not a time, it's an error code. And it's like, what? Like, we've used this dishwasher several times, no issues. And so you call the dishwasher repair person who's like, oh, it's not. Look, your dishwasher drains just fine. That's not the problem. The problem is in the plumbing. It's like the sewer was just replaced. Literally, that was one of the big hang-ups on this whole project, was that they needed to replace the sewer, which they did. And so it's like, okay, somehow that's broken. So that was what delayed me, actually, was talking to the dishwasher repair person.
Nice.
Wow. That's tough, man. You know, I tell people who are buying, especially their first houses, I say, you have to have a pot of money put aside simply for shit you didn't know was wrong with the house. It happens. And by the way, as someone who has spent an absurd amount of money on that exact issue, I know exactly how you feel, because I sometimes think of the stupid shit I've done on my house, and I'm like, if I was buying this house and knew some guy had done the things I had done, I would not buy this house. So it's lunacy.
Here was the other. This was my first brush with home ownership. Was one of the first, before we even moved in, one of the first things that was done was to get internet installed. And one of the criteria for choosing a house was houses that had fiber internet. So I'm finally back on fiber internet,
baby,
which is exciting. But then the people showed up to install the fiber internet, and they looked around. They're like, wow, this street's weird. And they're like, whatever. And they wrap the fiber around the electrical cable that goes from the street to the house. At least I think that's what it is. There's only one cable that goes from the street to the house. I assume it's electricity. But also that touches two different trees, which also, my understanding, is not what should happen. Anyways, so I was like, oh, that's weird. And then they go up to the side of the house. They whip out this massive drill that just drove right through. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Let's talk about this for a second. I would have thought twice if I was renting the house. Should we really be drilling holes through the entire outside into the inside of the house with this drill? Apparently, that's what you do. So that was an interesting moment. But then, to your point, Sean, you can do whatever you want with the house once you have it, right? And one of the things I have always wanted is to have Ethernet in other rooms than the room that the router is in. So, and we have to get an EV charger installed, long story. So I was already talking to electricians. I was like, hey, electricians, I didn't realize this. Electricians install Ethernet. It's like if you're already here, I wouldn't pay you just to come out to do this. But if you're already here, there's also discounts. Like, how much would you charge? It's very reasonable. It's only like $300 to $600, depending on which exorbitant, expensive electrician you're talking to. But they all said, like, oh yeah, what I would do is drill another hole through this wall over here, run it up the outside of the house, and then drill another hole. And I was like, well, wait a second. Like,
What the hell?
I feel like I could do that at that point, having watched the fiber installer people do it. What I was looking for from you was a more elegant solution. And I guess I never directly asked any of them about this, and maybe they all just assumed I wanted it done as cheaply as possible. But so that was my question to the group: is like, is it possible to run a wire inside the wall? Because I feel like I hear people talking about this, like, oh yeah, just run a wire inside the wall, something crawl space, something. But no one was proposing that as a solution.
It just varies so wildly house to house because all across America they're all constructed differently. And from what I understand, again, I'm not familiar with the Pacific Northwest, but if you're running it like between like adjoining rooms on the same floor, yeah, you're going to be fine. As soon as you like span vertical, a lot of the times there's blocking in between floors. That's a pain to get through.
Okay.
There's a lot of, I mean, I'll tell you, at my house, my electrical panel is on one end, and on the other end of the house, I installed a mini split heating cooling unit that needed power. My electrician, originally he wanted to run it under the siding around the outside of the house. And I said, you can't have the outside exposed. I'm not letting you do that. He had to run it all the way up the outside wall in a conduit, all the way up to my attic, run it across my attic down the other side because of how difficult it is to get it between all these different rooms and different ceilings and different it's really hard to do on an existing property.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Yeah. For we had 3-4 plugs installed, and there were like 23 holes in the plaster. To go, this is just in like the kitchen.
Right. Go from the kitchen to the kitchen.
Okay, right. So this is my follow-on question, and Colby, sounds like you have some experience with this.
Yeah.
The dishwasher repair person is telling me I need to call a plumber because my pipes are clogged, but then he's also like, what you should have is an air gap. And I was like, what's that? And apparently it's like your drain, instead of draining, your drain like goes up, and then there's like a thing you can access, and then it goes down, and that thing is where all the stuff gets caught, and then you clean the thing. It's like, oh, but you should also, if you're going to do that, you should also have a garbage disposal. And I was like, yeah, I thought about that, but I looked under the sink. There's no outlet, which makes sense. Why the hell would you put an outlet under a sink, 100 years ago? It doesn't make any sense. That would be the worst possible place to put an electrical outlet.
But doesn't your dishwasher have electric power going to it?
That's what I asked him. I was like, hey, you look behind the dishwasher. How did it get electricity? It's like something junction box, something.
Oh, so it's just running a raw line out of there. Is your dishwasher close to your sink?
It's right next to it.
Yeah, so it would not be. The expensive part is running a line. If a line's already there, they can put in an outlet. I think it would actually be pretty reasonable.
Okay, all right, this is good. But this is like, talk about the stuff for your stuff, the eels, the slide tile puzzle. Now I feel like I've become a general contractor. Like, I have all the necessary skills. I'm thinking through the dependencies. I'm drawing the Gantt charts. I'm like, all right. Well, I already have to get the plumber out to replace the hot water heater, so maybe they could do this thing. And then while they're here, they might as well do the garbage disposal and the air gap. If they're going to do the air gap, they got to get an electrician. Like, can a plumber just do that? Or does a plumber look at that and be like, well, I'm not touching that because I need an electrician to make that junction box have one more outlet? Yes, Sean says yes. Okay, yeah. So,
no, well, what I've learned is there's two ways to be a great homeowner. One is to be a handyman of all trades. I cut the wood, I hammer the nails, I do all the work myself. Those people are smart and they're great. But the other side of that coin is you can be a great homeowner by knowing how to deal with contractors. If you get really good at, first of all, finding the right people, making sure they know you and like working for you, they'll give you better rates. They'll be more cooperative. As you said, scheduling them and having them work together with each other. If you can get good at that skill, and I feel, not to pat myself on the back, I've done an okay job of that over the years, your life will be just as happy and your house will be just as good as someone who did all the work himself.
What's the secret, Sean? How do you get them to like you and stuff? Do cookies?
No, honestly, it sounds dumb, but it's just genuinely being a nice person who's understanding, and when something goes wrong, you don't flip your shit, and, you know, like you said, Dan, like thinking ahead about stuff and being communicative and understanding they're running. Like, I have guys who I work with, and they're like, you wouldn't believe what some customers pull on me. You know, they just, it's a service industry. They're just looking for the bare minimum. So if you're just a good guy to work for, you pay them on time, and, you know, you keep calling them back and you build a relationship, they'll go above and beyond. At least that's my experience. And you're such a nice guy, Dan. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. So, especially if you pay them, they like when you do that.
I can do that. At least
And
recently.
referrals are great. Get referrals, because guys will only recommend other guys they trust because it's their reputation. So if you need somebody, ask your plumber for an electrician. I just had my siding guy recommend a landscaper who's awesome, who like doesn't do a lot of marketing. You wouldn't really find his business. He only does word of mouth stuff, and he's fantastic. I would have never learned about him if I hadn't. My siding guy didn't like me and was willing to say, "Yeah, no, you can." You know, Sean's a good client.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's great. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, and in tech news, I got a firsthand look at the Silicon Valley collapse, as that was the bank out of which my
Dan
paycheck
literally
was
ran
paid.
to the bank. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, I couldn't do anything. I was
Oh my God.
just sitting at home wondering what my future is going to be. So that also happened.
Listen, Papa Biden's going to bail you out, buddy. Don't you worry.
Yeah. Well,
Good man.
it's not really a bailout. The people will point out to you.
Of course. No free money.
Don't call it a bailout.
I just, not to get onto that topic too much, but I did just read, was it Roku came out and said they had $500 million in cash in Silicon Valley Bank, like a quarter of all their cash. They're like, we don't know if we're going to get it. And I'm like, could you imagine just like not having your $500 million?
I can.
Yo, well, okay, there you go. I mean, Dan, I knew you were doing good. You just bought a house, but
I mean, you know, it's all relative, right? It was the equivalent of $500 million for us. Without that money, there's just no chance that a company continues. So,
oh my God, yes, Dan LLC. Yeah, I got you. That's good.
Yeah. Now, that whole thing prompted me to learn that, like, the FDIC insurance thing is only for $250,000. Not that I have $250,000 sitting around in the bank, but I guess I just like assumed it wasn't like a limit. And if it was like way more money than I could imagine, but it's not.
Yeah, I read it used to be per account. Wait, am I getting that right? Oh, it's actually not really per account. It's per account holder per bank. So even if you have multiple Chase accounts, my understanding is your individual liability is limited at Chase, JP Morgan Chase, to $250,000. And if you opened up a Bank of America account, you'd raise your overall exposure to over $500,000. But a second Chase account would not get you there. But it used to be different. It used to be $100,000, and you could open up as many accounts at Chase as you wanted to. I also learned today that I think these companies already existed, but now they're making a lot more money. There are companies for a small, office space-esque fee will handle the load balancing of your funds across all the banks for you to ensure you stay under the limit, which is
rich people problems.
One of those things. No, it's company problems.
Right.
The companies always, not all, but I don't know, even us, like we're like a 15-person startup, but between all the salaries and AWS, it got close to $250,000 you need a month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like Raid for your bank, for your money.
Yes. Yes. The other shocking thing about this, actually, that someone at work pointed out to me was even us, and we didn't have $500 million in the bank, but we had a lot of money. Even us, we were like, shouldn't we be doing something with this money instead of just having it sit there? And so before all of this, we were looking at the treasury bills, something. There's a way that you can give the federal government money and they'll give you more money back pretty quick. Like a little bit more money after a month and a lot more money after a year, relatively speaking. And the fact that like Roku had $500 million and they weren't doing any of that is kind of
Sitting
insane.
around in a
like,
checking account.
they're literally leaving money on the floor.
But that's part of, and I don't know how much you've read about the collapse of the bank, but that was part of the issue.
A lot.
Oh, see, there you go. So didn't Silicon Valley Bank, they were heavily invested in government,
Yes.
and because the interest rates went up, they got squeezed, and that was part of their loss.
My understanding is that they were not doing the staggered maturity thing where you like, and maybe they did and they just got the calculation wrong because everyone started withdrawing their money. But as a bank, as a company that has predictable expenses, and now I'm like, now I understand why the accountants love like, yeah, sign me up for the annual plan, even though it's more than on-demand pricing, because then you can predict how much you spend. Then you can take all the money you don't need, invest it, make that 0.08% return year over year.
Mm-hmm.
It's all starting to make sense now. Things I wish I didn't have to learn.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. I'll keep an eye on my checking account that earns 0% interest, and make sure my money is nice and secure at my local federal credit union. Thanks, local bank. I do have
You
to say,
just better
guys,
hope that the people of Springfield, Massachusetts don't decide to stop trusting the Federal Credit Union, because Silicon Valley Bank was basically a federal credit union for Silicon Valley companies and investors and rich people.
nah, us yokels around here, we bury gold in our backyards and put our cash under our mattresses, so we'll be just fine. We don't trust in the big banks, for those of us who have any money. Mild anecdote, I finally did it. I put my AirPods through the washing machine.
Nice.
It was only a matter of time,
Wow.
so I had to pick up some new ones, unfortunately, but they did not survive the washing.
Do you have the one that the case actually beeps when you use Find My?
Yes, actually, I do. I got the new case with the speaker in it.
That's the dream.
And you know what it does actually that I actually think is really neat is it beeps when you put it on the wireless charger, and it makes the connection, which is really great because I don't have MagSafe. So it's not, I got to line it up and it beep. And I go, oh, that's pretty cool. So
Nice.
Yeah. Other than that,
Is this the regular AirPods or the Pro?
the Pros, the Pro 2s, I guess.
Oh, interesting. Do you know if the new regular AirPods do stuff like that?
I
Do
don't
they even have the
think
Find
so.
My thing? I just want the Find My thing.
That's a good question. I don't think they have the speaker. I think that's exclusive. But the Find My, I think, is integrated into everything now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was annoyed. I still think they're overpriced on the Pros. I still think the price is too high. But I thought about it. Every single day when I leave my house, I have 4 things on my person at all time. My wallet, my car keys, my phone, and my AirPods. I use these suckers every single day. Like, it is not a question of if. I cannot live without them. So I literally Amazon ordered same-day delivery when they went through the washer. I was like, I have to get these now.
Now, did you check to see if they were broken?
I did. And
Okay.
they were very much...
'Cause I've heard
Sound
stories
came
of them
out.
surviving. Okay.
No, the sound came out, but one ear worked and the other was pretty garbled. And then I called somebody and the microphones were not working properly either. So no, you could tell but they were soaked, like dripping wet coming out of the washer, which is funny because my mother was pulling the laundry out. I was upstairs and I heard her go, Sean, and I'm like, oh, she goes, you're gonna be fucking pissed. I'm like, what are you? I'm like, what could this be? She thought I was gonna like flip my shit, and I was like, no, accidents happen. It is what it is, but unfortunate. But anyway,
Nice.
anything else going on, gentlemen?
I have been on a small technology spending spree recently.
helping the U.S. economy. Thank you, Colby.
Yeah. I finally replaced my monitor. My Apple Cinema display. I replaced it because I had taken for work. I had taken some like screenshots of stuff for like onboarding like docs and things, and I did it on my Cinema display, and I happened to see them on my like Retina laptop screen. It's like, why are these so blurry? It was because I did it on the Cinema display. That less than 2x resolution screenshot did not hold up well to modern screens. So I bought the cheapest 4K mini LED monitor I could find, which is pretty cheap, but like $800. It was $800, which is cheaper than I expected. I was, I think what I decided is I would get this non-Apple monitor for $800. And if it's terrible, that's fine. They're going to release new monitors and I'll spend $4,000 on it, on whatever stupid monitor that they come out with. And if it's fine, then I won't. I'll just use this one. And so far, it's only been like 4 days, but it seems to be fine. It has the high resolution. I spent the extra like $200 to get the high refresh rate one. So,
nice. That's better than the Apple display.
Right. And so I don't know. It seems nice. It has HDR. And then I was just perusing the internet, and I happened to search for PS5s, and there were PS5s in stock at the Target near me.
Ooh.
So I got a PS5 to plug into this stupid monitor.
Nice.
Oh,
And
no.
I really went through a massive visuals upgrade recently. So you guys are really high definition in a way that you haven't been in the past.
Well, it's funny. I'm also kind of like Dan is weirdly high definition because of his fiber. Dan's never Dan's never looked crisper. It's upsetting. The house is doing wonders for you, Dan.
Great.
Between that and your monitor, we're just absolutely gorgeous. Colby, how big is the monitor? What size you got there?
27 inches, same as the
nice.
old one. Yeah.
Pretty reasonable. And what are you? Any particular things you're playing on the PS5 that's looking great in 4K?
I've only played Horizon, not Horizon. Horizon?
The new Horizon?
Whatever. New Horizon. No, Horizon.
Horizon Forgotten West.
Forbidden West.
Forbidden West. We got there.
Close enough.
Our powers combined. Yes, that's the only one I've played so far, and it looks quite nice. It's one of those, like, after you play for 5 minutes, it like loses the effect, and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm playing the game. But like every time I turn it on, it's like, whoa.
Yes. Yes. And then you start noticing how crappy other things look. I did that.
Yes.
I just, Nessun, who's our sort of local sports channel here in New England, you can stream Bruins games in 4K when they play in Boston. And when you first turn, you notice the difference, especially in a high-speed sport like hockey, where there's a lot less pixel. You can really notice the motion in 4K. And then after watching it for 5 minutes, you're like, all sports should look like this. And you stop noticing after a while. And then you like put on regular hockey on TV, and you're like, oh, this looks awful.
Disgusting. Yeah. So
The only other game worth playing is the Spider-Man Miles Morales game of games that benefit from the PS5 IMO. I haven't
Right.
played all of them, but I've tried a couple.
Coming from the PS4, I really appreciate how quickly things load, because like I think you're muted, Dan.
Oh. Now am I muted?
No.
No. Okay. I said that's the number one reason to get it. I agreed.
Yeah. Because, boy, with the new games, did you sit for a long time between like every time? I mean, at least there are less loading screens in games than there used to be, but like, holy moly.
I remember
like,
playing the Last of Us 2 on the PS4, and it was like, I think at least a minute. You'd start the game, like, oh, continue X, and then it'd be like, this beautiful, slightly animated loading screen you'd stare at for 60, 70 seconds. Like, oh my God. What is happening in the background? Like, what is actually going on? It turns out it's just like I guess it's just loading stuff off of a spinning disk hard drive. It's super slow, it turns out.
Right. Got to get all that gunk into memory. Yeah. So that was my adventure. I got the PS4 with no disk drive. Mm-hmm. I mean, the PS5 with no disk drive. It's slightly less bulbous than the other one, which is nice. I was disappointed that, like, I feel like this this does not have like meaningfully more hard drive space than the PS4 did, relative to how much larger games are.
But unlike the PS4, it has a slot for an additional hard drive, I think.
Ooh.
I think that's true. And you can you can go on Amazon and get one of those teeny tiny fast SSD things and slot it in, I think.
Nice. Okay. I'll accept that then.
Right. You still have to pay for it. But
well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Listen, he's on a spending spree, Dan. Don't matter. He'll pay for it. He just goes to the Best Buy and they just say, whatever you want, sir. Help yourself.
Speaking of some of this stuff, and going back to my Ethernet thing, at the time, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago, like, hey, Dan, are you going to get Ethernet in your house? And it's like, yes, because, God damn it, I've been waiting like literally 20 years to put Ethernet in rooms, and now I own a house, I'm going to do it. But then when I actually got here, I'm in this office room. To my right is a bathroom, and on the other side of that wall is the living room. The router I moved it from back in one of these shelves to out in the middle of the room because the Wi-Fi reception was terrible in the living room. Because it turns out Wi-Fi routers are really bad at going through shower, bathtubs and water pipes and sinks and mirrors and all that stuff. So despite the fact that I have fiber internet, occasionally, once or twice a viewing session, it'll like drop from 4K to 1080p or lower. And it'll usually recover pretty quickly, but it's like, this is definitely the Wi-Fi sucking in the living room, despite the fact that it's 40 feet away. The bathroom is totally killing it.
Well, this might be the time. I mean, my house is not the same square footage, but it's not far off as your place. Might be time to go mesh. That was what solved my problem in my house was mesh routers. Really covered the square footage.
See, my house, so that's the bathroom. And the other room is on the other side of the bathroom. The bathroom is in the middle. So totally screwed. Wi-Fi 6, though. Notable.
Does Wi-Fi 6 make that better?
I don't know if it makes the pipes better, but boy, does it work better. It solved all of my other Wi-Fi problems.
Colby's shower now has Wi-Fi. So,
oh yeah.
Up there I have a Unify Wi-Fi 6 access point that is just sitting there not being used for anything. But it occurs to me that I could just turn off the Wi-Fi on the Dream Machine thing and just use that.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay,
I gave
worth
up
a shot.
on my Dream Machine. It pooped out, and then I just got a different router.
That's fair. Okay.
You should try it.
I will try it. I also here's a fun fact: things I learned looking at houses in Seattle. There are two. I guess there are three kinds of houses you can get in Seattle. You can get a piece of shit murder house for about $600,000. You can get a brand new, built like 5 pieces of plywood tapped into the ground box house. I think we've all seen those. Or you can get a lovingly maintained 100-year-old house.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is one of those. all of those houses, when you can't hear it when someone's walking upstairs, and if you knock on the walls, it doesn't just reverberate like a bass drum. But none of them have doorbells. Just none. It's completely not surprising to find no doorbells at all. I don't understand what people did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Everyone just knocked on the door. I don't know. But now everyone has the battery-powered doorbells. So I need to get a battery-powered doorbell. It cannot be wired. I guess it could be, but it just seems like $1,000. I don't want to spend right now. Just everything else.
Got some
when
guy drilling holes all the way through your walls.
Yeah, when I could just spend $100. It's like, oh, I totally get it now. Yeah, sure. Wi-Fi doorbell. So I got a Wi-Fi doorbell. Also, they're like no Wi-Fi doorbells that work with HomeKit, which is annoying. There's one, but it sucks and it overheats in the sun, and our door is south facing, so like that doesn't seem like a wise investment. So I have a Arlo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Arlo.
It might be. I can't actually see it, but I haven't installed it yet because I have to drill holes in the side of the house to mount the thing on the wall.
Do you have a drill?
So I have a drill. My uncle very kindly heard me not complaining. I was just noting. I was like, there's a bunch of shit I just cannot do because I've never needed a drill. The one time I needed a drill in the Manhattan apartments, it turned out my grandfather had in the closet a drill, a hand crank drill, which I used to drill because I needed there's no smoke detector in the house. I needed to install a smoke detector, so I got one of the fancy Nest smoke detectors, and I needed to drill some holes to mount it. And I drilled these holes by hand through the plaster. And it took all night. And also I was drilling into the ceiling, so eventually my hand would go numb from being above my heart for too long, and I'd have to take a break. But other than that, I've never needed a drill. And so anyways, I was noting this to my uncle. I was like, we're going to hang all these photos or paintings and stuff, and got to drill holes in the wall because some of them are super heavy. Lena has this giant, I don't know if you've ever, I guess maybe neither of you have ever seen it, a giant solid wood, vibrant pink picture frame with nothing inside of it, but attached to it are lobsters and apples and like plants and all sorts of crazy shit. It looks really cool, but it is incredibly heavy. It's just all solid wood. So gotta hang that. Anyway, so my uncle gave me a drill, a power drill. So I have a power drill that I haven't even opened. He decided I was going to be Ryobi man, he said. So that's where I'm.
Nice.
That's where I'm at.
Good brand.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research. It's like, oh wow, so yeah, they're trying to sell you on like buy into our battery ecosystem, and then you can get the power washer and all the other crazy shit. So I have anyways, long story short, I have a drill. I'm just a little afraid to use it, if I'm being honest. I've used a power drill to like construct, a set for like a play, but it doesn't really matter. Like the worst case scenario is you're going to ruin this like 2x4. I've never used a power drill to drill into a wall that might have wires in it. I guess that's unlikely, but potentially not impossible on the outside of the house. I don't know. So that's to turn it back into Don't Panic Home Improvement Hour. That's where I'm at with the video doorbell. It's sitting here in the box behind me.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, that shouldn't be too bad. I think what I usually say is like the test of a homeowner is a TV mount.
Oh,
that can get like you graduate up to that because you're putting in bolts that are that long directly into the studs, man.
Have I told you my philosophy on this? If the consequence of screwing something up, if the magnitude of that failure is more than $100, I pay someone to do it. And with the TV mount, definitely. Like even if the TV was less than $100, just something that heavy crashing to the ground is going to destroy these beautiful, lovingly maintained original hardwood 100-year-old floors. So yeah, absolutely not doing that. But a video doorbell, it does seem like the worst case scenario is I fuck up the video doorbell or drill the wrong size holes into the side of my house, into the siding.
Low
stakes. Like it mounts into the siding.
You'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Okay, thanks.
I've drilled a lot of holes in the walls here.
Just for fun.
Like,
Just for fun. It's a hobby.
It's fine. I mounted the TV on one wall and decided that was the wrong wall, and so I put it on the other wall.
Wow. That's bold courage. Apple, take note.
Bold. Best thing you can have with your drill is the like analog stud finder, the like one that is just a really strong magnet. I'll put it. It can be my pick for this week.
He did also give me a stud finder, but I also haven't opened that, and I have no idea how it works. He did say he didn't get the super expensive one that has the radar built in, although he thought about it. So it's not that. But I don't know if it's magnetic or.
The magnet one is the good one. If it has batteries, it's probably not good.
Interesting.
I don't know. I've never used a stud finder with batteries that like actually found any studs.
Here's a dumb question. What is a stud?
Well, so in a house, right? Like inside the walls behind the plaster are like every like in America
pieces of wood.
They're pieces of wood that go up and down and hold the ceiling up that are like every 16 inches. There's a piece of wood that sticks straight up and down. And the manual stud finder finds the studs by finding the screws that they use to screw the drywall into the piece of wood. Which is
a screw finder.
Right, yes. Really all metal things finder. But it also finds pipes in the walls, which is nice because you don't want to drill holes in those.
Well, that was what I was going to bring up. There are other metal things in the wall. Oh, but I guess what you're saying is if you know where the screw is, you don't want to drill there. You want to drill above it or below it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. No. And basically anything of any weight, if you're putting it into drywall, you really need to put it into a stud. Drywall does not have a lot of holding power.
Yep. Okay, well, maybe I'll FaceTime you and Colby for some of these drilling sessions.
This is great. We got to put this on Twitch or something.
Awesome. we could just start the show. We could just go live.
The home improvement hour. I love it. No, that's very exciting, Dan. Congratulations. Guys, we basically went through the whole show. We don't have time for news. It really was the home improvement hour, unless you really want to talk about one of these stories.
We talked about Silicon Valley Bank.
Okay, that's true. We did.
We talked about one news item.
Okay. Check that box. And we can move on to picks then, I suppose.
I definitely have a pick. I just need time to think about it.
All right. I'll buy you some time. Picks are the part of the show where each of us brings something we want to share with the world, some cool stuff we're checking out and enjoying. Colby, why don't you go first since we just talked about this?
Mine's the stud finder. It's the C.H. Hansen magnetic stud finder. It's yellow. It has a little level in it. It's basically just a magnet.
Yeah, it's a wire cutter pick. I own the exact same one as well. I'm sure that's where we found it.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love mine. Dan, I will say, a great early purchase for you will be a toolbox. And not like an expensive, like a plastic one because about 6 or 12 months from now, you will have a wrench and a hammer and a screwdriver and a stud finder, and you're going to need somewhere to... I have a toilet snake. There's just stuff you accumulate over the years that you don't know you need until you need it.
Sure.
But yeah, the magnetic stud finder that works really, really well. Cool. We'll link to that on the site. I will go with my pick. I haven't actually bought this. I just found out about it right before the show, and I'm like, damn, I kind of want to buy this. It's the Chipolo Card Spot, the wallet finder that works with the Find My app. It's basically a little credit card shaped Find My device that works with the Find My network. So in case your wallet goes missing, it just slots right into it like a credit card instead of a big round circular puck. And it only costs $35, which I actually think is pretty reasonable for something like this. They say it lasts for 2 years on its battery life, which again is not unreasonable. It'll beep. You'll be able to locate it, and I think I'll probably pick one of these up for my wallet. I think I mentioned on here I got a AirTag for my luggage when I was traveling, and I really liked it. And my the AirPods have them, so I said, maybe I'll give this a shot. Looks cool. So a pre-pick of sorts, the Chipolo Card Spot. Link on the website.
Oh, you don't have it yet?
I don't have it yet. I found out about it 5 minutes ago, so I'll report back on how it goes.
Okay. Nice.
I didn't have anything recently I bought, so I said I'll pre-pick. And on that case, Dan, I
can't believe I haven't picked this before, but according to the website, I haven't. I mentioned that there is no HomeKit video doorbell that will work, but luckily there's this thing called HomeBridge that allows you to take almost anything and connect it to HomeKit. So if there's a thing that's connected to the internet, I've used it for the MyQ garage door opener, which doesn't work with my. Oh, that was another thing. The people here, like, there's some things they wouldn't really hog wild in. We have an incredible electric oven, but it's electric, which is odd because we do have gas in the house. And they have the world's quietest garage door opener, which does not work with the MyQ garage door opener, but is like silent. It's like insane. I don't understand how it works. But anyways, when I did use the MyQ thing, you could hook that up through HomeKit. The Ring doorbell, I could hook that up through HomeKit. And the Arlo one, or I forget if I have the Eufy one or the Arlo one, whichever one I have, that also works through HomeBridge into HomeKit. And so HomeBridge is amazing. It's pretty easy to install if you have a Raspberry Pi or something like that. And the cool thing is, we moved in here, we got the Ring security system, which works pretty well and gets you a discount on your homeowner's insurance, which I didn't realize, but it's a nice benefit. But a cool thing is all those little like door and window sensors show up in HomeKit now thanks to HomeBridge. So I can say, like, when the front door opens, activate the I'm home scene. It just instantly happens. It's so fast. It's so fast. I'm like, how is this not like native integration? This is happening so quickly, but it works really, really well. So HomeBridge, amazing open source project.
Fun fact, the whistle switch was built with a HomeBridge open source thingy, like one of their the lower level things that, like, open source packages.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Homebridge.io. Colby, speaking of that, I was meaning to ask you, since Twitter shut off their API, has Tweed taken off? Has that gone viral?
Well, I mean, I was expecting it to stop working as Twitter shut off their API, but it hasn't yet. So
Twitter has not shut off the API yet.
Yeah.
No. Okay. They've just limited it. I got you. Because I was thinking everyone, if they can't use third-party apps, they might just go full RSS. But
I think maybe the gap here is, Colby, your Tweed systems uses the Twitter API to. Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
Once you become big enough, they'll squash you like a bug.
I keep waiting for when I got off Twitter. I transferred the thing. I was like, you know what I really need is all of the local Twitter accounts that are like, this is the Seattle Transit blog, where people are, and of course they have a blog, but they don't have an RSS feed, so that I have to get it from their Twitter account. I transferred all of that stuff to Tweed Systems.
Yeah,
and it has continued to work great.
My man.
Fingers crossed.
Don't tell too many people, but like
invite
a couple
people.
Is okay. Yeah, I want to look up how many tweets we've served recently. This is the one thing I do on the Twitter account.
Well, Dan, you gotta start posting your home renovations on Mastodon.
Yeah.
Because Dan's one of my, now of course I only follow like 12 people on there, but Dan's right up there. One of my top 12 that I follow.
Thanks. Yeah, I didn't really feel like tweeting a lot or tooting a lot recently. I had one toot lined up for last Friday, which was just going to be ha 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 like 16 times. And then I decided not to toot it.
Yeah, not adding much to the discourse. I got you. But we're feeling for you. Well, that's great, Dan. Again, congratulations. That's wonderful. Hopefully things will settle down for you a little bit, though knowing you, I highly doubt it. I don't think things have ever been settled down for you in the history of mankind. But so be it. I'm going to start the wrap-up here, but I can't end this show without talking about the other show up for debate. Guys, you know what month it is.
Oh my God, it's March Madness.
It's March Madness. Thank you, Colby. It sure is. We're in the thick of it. We just published a little while ago our first episode of the month. Would you believe me? And now for the third March in a row, we're playing text-based adventure games again. This week, we play a Batman-themed adventure game. And I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. The very first option of the game is you can play as Batman or as Alfred. Yes, which we chose. And it's actually very funny. So I do recommend people check out that episode, upfordebate.tv, or get podcasts, check it out. Just look for Up for Debate. We'll be doing that all month long. And I will warn you, Matt always comes up with some theme. And this year's theme is, there's a website that has all these games on it. In the first week of the month, we're going to do a 5-star rated game. In the second week, we're going to do a 4-star rated game. In the third week, a 3-star rated game. And in the last, we're going to do a 2 or less star rated game. Mind you, the 5-star rated game was not that great. So I am very concerned about where this month is headed.
Woof.
That's a great plan.
Very Matt. Very Matt. And I will talk to you guys, too, about his new hobby. He's getting into woodworking. I'm very worried.
Yeah, he's a woodworker. Yeah.
I'm very good. I warned him that he needs the paramedics on standby. Poor guy.
Well, if he wants a project, I might have to redo the cabinet between the dishwasher and the sink if I'm going to install this shit. So,
no, Dan, you already have learned. Listen, you've been a homeowner for a little over a week. You've already learned. Just drill a big ass hole.
That's true.
That's the solution to everything in the home. Every cable installer I've ever met is like, need a wire there? I'll get the biggest drill I got.
That's true. You know what? They should just make all walls to be slightly porous, like the Mac Pro case, but have them each wall offset from the other, so you can only see into the next room, but not the room after that. But then you have sort of free channels between each room.
It's not a bad idea.
Maybe it works a little bit differently for bathrooms, but otherwise, it's a different kind of open concept.
Breathable. The acoustics are going to be awesome. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, listen, this show is don'tpanic.io. Of course, go to our website. There's the URL. It's going to have links to all of today's picks as well as all the past episodes. Of course, you can subscribe wherever you get podcasts. We're on all the major platforms. You can also get the video version on YouTube and see how crisp Dan's video is. And then you should follow us at Don't Panic Show on Twitter. Email us don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. That's going to put a pin in it here. So great to have all three hosts back. Glad to catch up with you guys and all of you at home. We appreciate it as always. On behalf of Dan and Colby, I am Sean. Thank you for being here. We're going to see you next time for another fantastic episode of Up for Debate. No, it's not Up for Debate. Don't panic. Oh, no. Damn it. I got through the whole show. Damn it. Oh, my God. It's like, it just...